right-hand side, it's Ryan Ferries. He's playing Mono Red Phoenix, sitting at 9-1 right now. He's going to be taking on Ricky Thorson, Eldrazi-tron. Not a lot of this matchup we've seen thus far, and these are kind of some new faces here in our feature match area.
Yeah, we haven't seen either of these decks a whole lot this weekend either. Mono Red Phoenix definitely got a big upgrade in Finale of Promise from War of the Spark, so that's going to be a big one.
Yeah, I think that was a key piece for this Mono Red Phoenix deck.
And then I think arguably Eldrazi Tron is a better Karn the Great Creator deck than normal Tron, because normal Tron has a lot of ways to actually assemble Tron, but Eldrazi Tron just stuck with Expedition Map, and you probably play like not the majority of your games without Tron, but it's very close. And the deck is good because you can operate without it. It's just this thing that if you have it, you get like a little bit of an extra boost.
You go into hyperdrive. Yeah, and Thorson operating without it thus far. Still a fine start. Has the Eldrazi Temple, able to go into Matter Reshaper. Meanwhile, Ferry's going to go ahead and fire off a Gut Shot and get a Light Up the Stage going, I believe.
Into more Gut Shots.
Little Gut Shot flooded. Not exactly what you want here. Thorson going to go ahead and attack with that Matter Reshaper. Ferries, I think, was thinking about whether he wanted to double Gut Shot there. Is just going to take the damage, falls down to 15. Second Tron piece for Thorson, so very close to going crazy with the mana. We'll see if that happens. Here's Gut Shot number 1. That's going to head towards Thorson's Dome. Falls to 15, and Ferries untaps and takes the turn back.
Not an ideal start for the Mono Red Phoenix deck. Definitely looking to play a turn 1 prowess creature, either Monastery Swift Spear or Soulscar Mage on the first turn. That would have allowed those creatures to get in for a lot of damage, you see, with all these Gut Shots and Light Up the Stages and everything. And Ryan likely looking for Faithless Looting, some sort of card drawer.
Uh-oh, look what we found. A little bit of Tron action, naturally drawn. Thorson going to go ahead and deploy. Karn the Great Creator heads over to the Wishboard. What surprise does he have waiting? Looks like Witchbane Orb is the play here.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Wow.
Should pull that one up on screen.
Yeah, these Eldrazi Tron players able to go a little bit deeper with the Karn Wishboard. Find some more options than we see maybe the Amulet players or even the Tron players.
Yeah,
access to.
The Eldrazi Tron deck has a reasonable sideboard. There are enough colorless cards and things with Phyrexian mana like Dismember that you don't really have a whole lot of things that you want in your sideboard. So just kind of bastardizing it with the Karn Great Creator package, I think is completely fine.
I agree with you. Ferry's going to go ahead and read Witchbane Orb. He's like, oh yeah, this is quite bad for me. There you see Witchbane Orb on your screen. Thorson obviously mostly interested in the ability to destroy all curses attached to him. That's why this card is sitting in the sideboard.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Oh, my mistake. Yeah, don't see a lot of curses these days in Modern. No, the important part of this card, you have Hexproof. And that's going to prevent any burn spells from heading Thorson's way.
So Ferries has a Finale of Promise targeting Lava Spike to actually take out the Karn. And the rest of his burn spells not very effective at this point, thanks to the Witchbane Orb.
Guess what, Jerry? Nothing in his deck is now effective because Thorson had a second Karn, used it to go get Mycosynth Lattice. If you are not familiar with the combination of Karn and Mycosynth Lattice, it shuts off all your lands. Ferries does not have access to mana any longer. This game is over. There's nothing Ferries can do from this point.
Yeah, you could maybe have things like Simian Spirit Guide, but that's a card that Mono Red Phoenix is not really playing a lot these days.
Yep.
So not a whole lot of outs.
Yeah, and Ferries is going to go ahead and pack them up, and we're going to head to the sideboards. Why don't we take a look at what the players are working with here? We'll start over on Ferries' side. There you see 3 Surgical Extractions, 3 Rending Volley, 2 Ravenous Trap, 2 Blood Moon, 2 Anger of the Gods, 2 Abrade, and 1 Alpine Moon. Jerry, I feel like it's time for the moons to shine.
It's definitely Blood Moon's time. Alpine Moon is a little awkward where you can shut off Tron, but they can still have access to the Eldrazi part of their deck. So it'll probably come in, but it's not as much of a haymaker as actual Blood Moon is. And then Mono Red Phoenix is definitely scared of Chalice of the Void from the Eldrazi Tron side of things. So you're going to be seeing those Abrades come in.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. Meanwhile, over on Thorson's side, as I mentioned, able to go pretty deep with the Karn board here. You see I think it's 12 of his 15 slots devoted to Karn targets. We see 1 Ratchet Bomb, 1 Sorcerer's Spyglass, 1 Tormod's Crypt, 1 Torpor Orb, 1 Walking Ballista, 1 Witchbane Orb, a very orb-based sideboard apparently, 2 Spatial Contortions, 2 Surgical Extractions, 1 Basilisk Collar, that's going to be huge here, 1 Ensnaring Bridge, 1 Grafdigger's Cage, 1 Liquid Metal Coating, and 1 Mycosynth Lattice. I almost called it Microsoft Lettuce, which is what we have jokingly been calling it. Not the best name, though. That wouldn't have been very clear.
That'll be like a new creature collection thing, I'm sure.
Microsoft Lettuce.
You just get like a brush wag.
Sure, why not? Speaking of the creature collection, if you would like to pick up our creature collection, you know where to do it. Go to go.starcitygames.com/creature collection. Right now, you can pick up Fur Queen and Country. You see that adorable little corgi there. Of course, you get that on playmats, sleeves, player bundles, which contain all that good stuff. Again, go.starcitygames.com/creature collection.
That corgi means business.
Yes, he does. Very dedicated to his or her work. Don't really know the gender of that corgi offhand.
So 2 copies, 2 copies of Eldrazi Tron in day 2. Ricky Thorson is one of them. Alex Hahn on the leaderboard is the other one. And yeah, like we were talking about, the Karn sideboards go kind of deep in Eldrazi Tron. Alex Hahn has 2 surgical extractions and then all 1-ofs.
Yeah. Players definitely a little bit more dedicated to the Karn plans. This deck, Eldrazi Tron, got some pickups with this set. Not only is there Karn, which is great in this deck, such a great fit. Before we were usually seeing Karn Liberated, which, you know, obviously if you have those natural Tron draws, feels real good. But it's a bit of a stretch sometimes with the mana. Karn the Great Creator is just castable. And you're going to cast it in a vast majority of your games. You have Mind Stone to accelerate to it.
And just arguably more effective, too.
I think that's a fair statement, which is weird to say when you're talking about Karn Liberated. But Karn the Great Creator, great in this deck. Also, picked up Blast Zone. Big problem solver for the Eldrazi Tron deck.
Yeah, for sure. Eldrazi Tron normally went towards things like Ratchet Bomb.
Right.
And Blast Zone is just a thing that you can Expedition map for. It taps for colorless. Basically just does everything. And Eldrazi Tron had some flex slots in its mana base. You'd see the Tron lands for sure, Eldrazi Temple, maybe some Ghost Quarters, maybe some Field of Ruins, a couple copies of Waste so you didn't get blown up by Blood Moon.
Yep.
And then it was just like, all right, what do I play now? Like some Cavernous Souls maybe? These aren't even really that good, but whatever. Sometimes you see like Mutavault or Inkmoth Nexus, but Blast Zone I think is just a slam dunk.
Agreed. Ferries does have a 1-drop this time. It's Soulscar Mage. Going to be happy to see that one. Hopefully can leverage the prowess ability of that card. Also helps in shrinking down the bodies of those large Eldrazi.
Yeah, people normally think that Monastery Swiftspear is the stronger 1-drop, but against big creatures, Soulscar Mage does a lot of work.
For sure. Here you see Lightning Bolt headed Thorson's way. That's going to pump that Soulscar Mage, and Thorson falls to 15. 2 Tron pieces already. Going to go ahead and deploy a Walking Ballista on 1. See if that finds the opportunity to make a nice block here. Turn heads back to Ferries.
God, I might want to play Eldrazi Tron. Is that bad?
I understand why you feel that way. Have you played Eldrazi Tron before?
A little bit.
I've played it a small amount. Did not enjoy my time with the deck. But things change, and Karn is a big add. So I think it's fair. It's time to reassess exactly what Eldrazi Tron is capable of. How about Natural Tron? That's pretty good, right? Thought Not Seer is going to be the play here from Thorson.
Look how good this deck is.
Yeah, it's unbeatable. And Thorson going to see a hand of 2 Finales, 1 Arclight Phoenix.
So not bad. Finale promised on the next turn can target Lightning Bolt and Fork Bolt.
Very fortunate to have instant end sorcery in the graveyard presently.
It's just good deck building.
Yeah. Looks like the take is going to be the Arclight Phoenix, and Thorson has a follow-up of Matter Reshaper. Game very quickly starting to swing in Thorson's direction.
Yeah, the Finale can Fork Bolt the Mana Reshaper, Lightning Bolt the Thought Not Seer, shrink it down to a 1/1, and then Soulscar Mage becomes a 4-power creature.
Could work, and I think that is going to be the play here from Ferries. Going to go ahead and fire off those 2 spells from the graveyard, but Thorson responds with Surgical Extraction.
That makes things tougher for sure.
Oh, yeah. Don't know if Ferries was expecting that one.
I definitely was not.
No. I'm going to go ahead and remove those lightning bolts from Ferries' deck.
This is still not that bad. You still get to use Fork Bolt to clear the Mana Reshaper. Ooh, I guess Soul Scar's only 3 power now.
Yep, less effective attack.
Ooh.
Awkward. Awkward blowout from the Surgical Extraction. Man, we've seen some Surgical Extraction blowouts thus far.
Yeah, at this point, you might just want to Fork Bolt the Thought-Knot Seer and attack. That way, Ricky can't trade with the Mana Reshaper. If he wants to double block, at least you get to kill the Thought-Knot, draw an extra card.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not worth it, though.
Let's see. Let's see what Ferries decides. Having to adapt on the fly. Certainly had a good plan previously. Now it gets a little murkier.
From the Phoenix side of things are definitely getting scary here, where your opponent has Tron. They're going to get to untap. They're probably going to play multiple spells and have a big turn. So I like this plan of actually trying to get in some damage this turn. And Ferries makes a better play than I thought of, which is just 1 to the Thought-Knot Seer,
Right.
1 upstairs, which basically accomplishes the same thing.
Yep, gets that extra point of damage. Looks like we were just going to go ahead and block with the Matter Reshaper, finds Eldrazi Temple. So Thorson going to go into the next turn with all the mana in the world. Does he have a big play here? How about another tower? And it's time for Karn. 7 mana available. I think you know what happens here. It's Microsoft Lettuce time. That is going to do it for Ferry's ability to cast spells the rest of this game. And that's probably the death knell.
Yeah, at this point, it's maybe a bunch of gut shots and an attack that could potentially free
Take
up
down
his
the Karn.
mana. But
yeah, it's going to be challenging. Any follow-up basically seals the game. How about a Blast Zone?
yeah, Blast Zone is it.
That's got to do it.
And now Karn can tick up.
Yep. Yep, Thought-Knot Seer just going to go ahead, get in there.
You could also just kind of solidify things a little bit more, tick down on Karn, get the Witchbane Orb or a giant threat like Walking Ballista.
Walking Ballista, which would be huge.
Yeah, that's also completely reasonable.
There is Walking Ballista. Big Walking Ballista, only going to get bigger. And I don't think there's much Ferries can do from this position. Looks like we have Table Judge shorting something out here. This will be some discussion around the Blast Zone activation. We'll get clarity and figure out exactly what they're looking at here. Possibly 2 lands in a turn, is that what they're looking at?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that is the catch here.
Yep. Yeah, and when I've seen this happen a lot with Horizon Canopy. You play it, immediately crack it, and it's just
play
like,
another land.
yeah, I didn't play a land this turn, right?
Right.
So that is definitely something to look out for.
And I do think that is the case here. I think it was Blast Zone as well as additional either the Waste or the Tower. The judge staff will get that sorted out. We'll give them a minute to go ahead and take care of that. See if they can get the game state rewound to an appropriate place, but
Another one of those things where very clearly just an accident because
no advantage should be gained with Microsoft Lettuce on the table.
Yeah, the game is basically locked up at that point. You know, it's like you're just happy you're winning, you're ahead, you're playing kind of fast. Little sloppy, which is not great.
Right, there is always a responsibility on all players to play appropriately, know what their cards do, know how many land drops they have made. Regardless of whether there's advantage or not, you have to play properly.
Right.
Judges will take care of that, get it sorted out. Let's talk about these decks a little bit.
I'm over here building my Eldrazi Tron
I see
deck.
that. You've already started compiling the Eldrazi Tron deck. Give us a sneak peek. What are you working with over there? What do you like about this Eldrazi Tron deck right now? Why does it capture your eye?
I mean, Chalice of the Void is a great Magic card, fun for the whole family.
Everyone enjoys playing under Chalice.
The rest of this, I'm looking at Alex Hahn's list now. Let's see if Ricky's is much different. So Ricky has an extra Walking Ballista, which I like.
Against the human-centric metagame, sure.
Yeah, both players have 2 copies of Endbringer, which is a card that I haven't really been that pleased with. And then, yeah, some Mind Stones, Dismembers, Expedition Map, Chalice of the Void, couple copies of All Is Dust.
That's a nice one. I like that they're accelerating to Karn, too. I think it's important. Karn showing up a turn early often changes dramatically the kind of impact it can have. What do you think about the wish boards for both these players? Anything in particular you're really focused on getting access to out of your sideboard?
That was one of the things I was looking at, where I wonder if some of these slots could either be consolidated or just removed entirely. And part of that would have to do with, well, what other cards am I looking to play? Are there things that I desperately think that I need to add to my sideboard? And if that's the case, then I'll start looking for things that could potentially be on the chopping block.
Sure. I think one of the things I'd like to see these Karn decks incentivize going forward is just having more cheap plays. I think they are a little bit all over the place right now. You see a lot of course, the 6-drop in Microsynth Lattice. There's Crucible of Worlds, a 3-mana effect. I want to see more 1s and potentially 0s. The only real 0 I see that makes sense is Tormod's Crypt.
It does make a lot of sense.
But I think there's a lot of room for more 1s to go ahead and enter those Karn wish boards and have a little bit more immediate impact post-playing Karn.
What would your favorite one be?
Well, right now it's Pithing Needle. I think that's the clear slam dunk, especially with the rise of Azorius Control, which we've seen quite a bit here over the past 2 days. But I have a feeling that a deep dive on Gatherer might reveal some other options, let us figure out ways to maximize Karn a little bit more.
I bet there's some nonsense out there.
That's one of the great things about a card like Karn is it sends you on these deep dives through Gatherer, and you're like, oh, this is a card? Wait, I can do this right now? Get real excited, find something cool to play with, and maybe just change the metagame, because with reliable access to Karn and reliable access to your sideboard, it only takes one small optimization to completely change a matchup around.
Blast Zone is so nice too. This deck is great.
Gotten a lot of upgrades, I have to say. The play patterns, you feel a little draw dependent, but in large part...
Mulligan. You get to mulligan.
That's what Modern's about, and here's my problem, is that the mulliganing of Eldrazi Tron is not like the mulliganing in typical Tron. You don't get to just default to getting those hugely powerful hands. You kind of need a lot of pieces to come together.
You have backdoor options with Eldrazi Temple, right? Which is the nice thing. And also, if you don't have things like Karn Liberated, Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger, any of this giant nonsense where you basically need Tron in order for it to be effective.
Sure. I
think the deck is fine. It is so much leaner than it used to be, and you can just function like the Eldrazi Winter Eldrazi decks, and that's completely reasonable.
Yeah, maybe that's another strike against Endbringers, just keeping hands a little bit more lean.
Right.
You're seeing things like 2 Walking Ballista, 3 Walking Ballista, but if you just pinch down those Endbreakers and get some more flexibility along your curve, that appeals to me quite a bit. You'll always have a play in the early game. You can deal with 1-drops a lot of the time. Walking Ballista seems good right now.
Oh, yeah.
You ever put a Basilisk Collar on a Walking Ballista?
I've had people try and do that against me.
Feels good. It feels real good.
Thankfully, I always had like the Smash to Smithereens or whatever.
Well, if you do not, your day gets bad very quickly. It's like
I believe
that
it.
Meme of unlimited power. We're just taking down creatures across the battlefield, gaining life at will. Of course, this usually happens at a point where the Eldrazi Tron deck has access to lots and lots of mana. Leverage it really, really well.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to eyeball in terms of options out of that sideboard there?
I don't know. I got to do a Gatherer search, man. See how deep we can go.
Okay. Why don't we head back down to our match? It sounds like the players have gotten things sorted out. I believe the fix was a rewind. I think we went back to the point where the extra land was played. Looking at the battlefield, I will say that seems to be the case. We are going to change what we're doing now. We're going to plus on the Microsoft Lettuce, send that into the battlefield. 6 damage heading Ferries' way. Let's not forget Karn ends the game very quickly once you find the Microsynth Lattice. Ferries with no options. Not a surprise. And you notice the Walking Ballista is gone. It's put back in the sideboard now, since Karn did not minus to go get it. Now we're going to make that Blast Zone play. Get this Soulscar Mage off the battlefield. Here's Graf Digger's Cage. So there's not going to be any Phoenix shenanigans. Karn ticks up again. 9 damage heading Ferries' way. going to fall to 4, draws the top card off the library, and that is going to do it. We had a feeling Eldrazi Tron basically had it locked up. You still have to cross the T's, dot the I's. We round things back a little bit, took care of that mistake, and still Ricky Thorson able to find the victory. Going to move to